Dr. Kim Do-hyun stared at his computer screen in the quiet laboratory. It was 3 a.m. at the Seoul Institute of Advanced Physics, but he couldn't sleep. Not now. Not when he was so close to something important. The numbers on his screen showed something amazing. Something that could change how humans study black holes forever. He had been working on this project for 5 years, trying to find a way to study black holes more closely without the danger of being pulled in. He took off his glasses and rubbed his tired eyes. The soft hum of computers filled the room. Outside his window, the city lights of Seoul sparkled in the dark, but the most beautiful sight was right there on his screen. The solution to a problem that had bothered scientists for decades. Dr. Kim picked up his phone and called his old friend, Dr. Yoon Ta-woo, who was the director of mission control at the Korean Space Agency. "Ta-woo, I found it," he said softly, his hands shaking with excitement. "I know how we can study a black hole up close." There was silence on the other end. Then Dr. Yoon spoke. "Do-hyun, do you know what time it is?" "Yes, but this is important. Remember how we talked about using quantum entanglement to study dangerous things from far away? I found a way to make it work with black holes." Dr. Kim clicked through his data as he explained. His idea was simple but clever. By using pairs of quantum-entangled particles, they could send one particle near the black hole while keeping its partner safe on a spaceship. Whatever happened to one particle would instantly happen to the other. This way, they could learn about the black hole without getting too close to it. The next morning, the institute was buzzing with activity. Scientists from different departments came to look at Dr. Kim's work. They checked his math, tested his theories, and asked many questions, but they couldn't find any mistakes. Word spread quickly. By afternoon, Dr. Kim's quiet laboratory was full of people. Representatives from the Global Space Coalition arrived in their dark suits, looking serious and interested. "Dr. Kim," said Ms. Park, the coalition's lead representative, "we want to turn your theory into reality. We're prepared to fund a mission to test your method on an actual black hole." Dr. Kim felt his heart beat faster. This was bigger than he had expected. "How soon?" he asked. "We've been looking for a breakthrough like this," Ms. Park replied. "We already have a ship that could be modified for this mission. If you agree, we can start preparing right away." As Dr. Kim looked around his now crowded laboratory, he thought about how different it had been just 24 hours ago. Yesterday, he was alone with his theories. Now he was at the center of what could be humanity's biggest step into space exploration. Dr. Yoon walked up to him with a smile. "Ready to make history, old friend?" Dr. Kim nodded slowly. He was ready. His discovery would help humans understand one of the most mysterious things in space, how black holes bend space and time. But first, they needed the right team, the right ship, and the right black hole to study. As everyone discussed plans around him, Dr. Kim turned back to his computer. There was still much work to do. The equations on his screen weren't just numbers anymore. They were the key to unlocking one of the universe's biggest secrets. And soon, they would guide a brave crew to the edge of a black hole, where space and time bend in ways humans had only imagined before. Captain Lee Jae-yun sat in her office at the Global Space Coalition's headquarters, reading through personnel files. The morning sun shone through her window, lighting up the stack of papers on her desk. She had been chosen to lead this important mission, and now she needed to pick the perfect crew. She took a sip of her coffee and opened another file. The photo showed a woman with determined eyes and short black hair. Engineer Choi Hana had worked on the most advanced spaceship engines in the world. Her notes said she could solve problems quickly and stay calm in hard situations. Captain Lee put her file in the yes pile. A knock on her door made her look up. Dr. Kim Do-hyun stood there, looking nervous in his wrinkled black coat. "Captain Lee," he said with a small bow, "I brought the list of equipment we'll need for the mission." She smiled and pointed to a chair. "Come in, Dr. Kim. And please, call me Jae-yun. We'll be working together for a long time." As they talked about the mission, Captain Lee noticed how Dr. Kim's eyes lit up when he explained his ideas. He might be shy, but his passion for science was clear. She knew she had made the right choice in accepting this mission. Later that day, Captain Lee met with Dr. Park Sung-min, an expert in gravity physics. He had studied black holes for 15 years and written many important papers about them. But what impressed her most was how well he explained complex ideas in simple ways. "Think of space like a blanket," Dr. Park said, spreading a map on her desk. "A black hole is like a heavy ball in the middle, making a deep dip. We want to study how deep that dip goes without falling in." Captain Lee nodded. This was exactly what she needed, someone who could help the whole crew understand their mission. The next week was busy with interviews and meetings. Engineer Choi arrived from her lab in Busan, bringing designs for special shields to protect their ship. Dr. Yoon visited often from mission control, helping them plan every detail. One morning, Captain Lee called everyone together in the main conference room. Maps and charts covered the walls. A model of their ship, the Horizon Seeker, sat in the middle of the table. "Look around," she said to her new crew. "Each of you is here because you're the best at what you do. In 3 months, we'll be leaving Earth to study something no human has ever seen up close: a black hole." She watched their faces as she spoke. Dr. Kim was already taking notes. Engineer Choi was studying the ship model. Dr. Park was looking at the star charts, probably planning their route. "The training will be hard," Captain Lee continued. "We'll practice every possible problem. We'll learn to work together like a family. Because out there, we'll only have each other to rely on." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Engineer Choi spoke up. "When do we start?" Captain Lee smiled. "Right now." The next months were filled with simulations, tests, and endless practice. They learned to handle emergencies, fix equipment, and make quick decisions. Sometimes they made mistakes, but they learned from each one. Dr. Kim taught them about his quantum entanglement system. Engineer Choi showed them how the new engines worked. Dr. Park explained what they might see near the black hole. Slowly, they became more than just a crew. They became a team. One evening, as they finished another long day of training, Captain Lee watched her crew leaving the simulation room. They were tired but happy, talking and joking together. She felt proud. These were the right people to make history with. Back in her office, she sent her final report to Dr. Yoon. "Team is ready. We are prepared to begin the mission." The morning of the launch was clear and cold. The Horizon Seeker stood tall on its launch pad at the lunar base, its silver hull shining in the starlight. There was no air on the moon to make the sky blue, just the black of space filled with countless stars. Captain Lee Jae-yun walked through the ship's corridors one last time, checking everything. The ship still had that new smell, a mix of clean metal and fresh paint. She touched the wall gently. This would be their home for the next 8 months. In the engine room, Engineer Choi Hana was already working. She moved between the huge engines, checking readings on her tablet computer. These were the most powerful engines ever built for a research ship. They would push the Horizon Seeker faster than any ship had gone before. "All engines are ready, Captain," Engineer Choi said with a confident smile. "These babies will get us there safely." Dr. Kim Do-hyun sat in the science lab, surrounded by his equipment. His quantum entanglement devices filled one whole wall. Each one looked like a small silver box with blinking lights. He had tested them hundreds of times, but he still checked each one again. Dr. Park Sung-min floated into the lab, already wearing his spacesuit. On the moon, people could float around inside buildings because there wasn't much gravity. "Ready for the real thing?" he asked Dr. Kim. Before Dr. Kim could answer, Captain Lee's voice came through the speakers. "All crew to the bridge. Launch in 30 minutes." They gathered on the bridge, strapping themselves into their seats. Through the big window, they could see Earth hanging in the black sky like a blue and white marble. "Mission Control, this is Horizon Seeker," Captain Lee said into her microphone. "We are ready for launch." Dr. Yoon's voice came back clear through their headphones. Horizon Seeker, you are clear for launch. Good luck, my friends. Make history. The countdown began. Engineer Choi's fingers flew over her control panel, warming up the engines. Dr. Park checked their course one last time. Dr. Kim held tight to his seat, his eyes closed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch. The engines roared to life. Even through the ship's thick walls, they could feel the power. The Horizon Seeker lifted smoothly off the lunar surface, rising into space. First stage complete, Engineer Choi reported. Main engines engaging. The ship turned gracefully, pointing toward deep space. Then the main engines fired. The force pushed them all back in their seats as the Horizon Seeker accelerated. Earth and the moon grew smaller behind them. Soon, they were going faster than any human had ever traveled before. The stars stretched into lines of light around them. All systems normal, Captain Lee announced. We are on our way to make history. They unbuckled their seats once the ship reached cruising speed. Dr. Park went straight to his instruments, already taking readings of space around them. Engineer Choi checked the engine readings, nodding with satisfaction. But their first challenge came sooner than expected. Just 3 hours into the flight, the ship's alerts started blaring. Radiation storm ahead. Dr. Park called out, pointing to his screens. It's not on any of our charts. Captain Lee quickly took command. Everyone to your stations. Engineer Choi, divert more power to the shields. Dr. Kim, secure your equipment. Dr. Park, I need constant updates on that storm's strength. The crew moved fast, working together like they had practiced. Through the window, they could see the space ahead of them glowing with strange colors. They were about to face their first real test, and they had only just begun their journey to the black hole. 3 weeks had passed since the radiation storm, and the Horizon Seeker was getting closer to its target, the black hole named VH-1219. The crew had settled into their daily routine, but something strange was beginning to happen. Dr. Park Sung-min noticed it first. He was in the science lab, looking at his instruments that measured gravity waves. The numbers didn't make sense. According to his readings, time was moving differently in different parts of the ship. Captain, he called through the ship's communication system. Could you come to the lab? There's something you need to see. Captain Lee Jae-yeon arrived quickly. She found Dr. Park and Dr. Kim both staring at the computer screens with worried faces. Look at this, Dr. Park pointed to his screen. When we send a signal from the front of the ship to the back, it takes longer than it should. It's like time itself is stretching. Dr. Kim nodded. And my quantum devices are acting strange too. The entangled particles are showing patterns I've never seen before. Captain Lee looked at the data. She wasn't a scientist, but she knew this was important. Could this be because of the black hole? Yes, Dr. Park said. We're still very far from it, but black holes are so powerful they can bend space and time even at this distance. It's just happening much sooner than we expected. Just then, Engineer Choi's voice came through the speakers. Captain, we have another problem. Our messages to Earth are taking longer to send, and some aren't getting through at all. Captain Lee went to the bridge, where Engineer Choi showed her the communication logs. Messages that should take minutes to reach Earth were taking hours. Some disappeared completely. It's like... Engineer Choi paused, looking for simple words to explain it. It's like throwing a ball through moving water. The waves keep changing where the ball goes. Dr. Yoon's voice crackled through their communication system. Horizon Seeker, your last message took 6 hours to reach us. Are you experiencing any other unusual effects? Yes, Captain Lee replied. Time and space around us are starting to bend. Dr. Park, can you explain what we're seeing? Dr. Park spoke into the microphone. The black hole's gravity is affecting everything around us. Light, radio waves, even time itself is being twisted. Our instruments are recording things that no human has ever seen before. The whole crew gathered on the bridge to watch as they got their first real view of BH-1219. It looked like a perfect black circle in space, with stars bending around it like a cosmic lens. "It's beautiful," Dr. Kim whispered, "and terrifying." Captain Lee looked at her crew. They had trained for many things, but this was different. They were seeing things that went against normal human experience. Time itself was changing around them. "We need to be extra careful now," she said. "Everything we do might be affected by these time differences. Engineer Choi, check all ship systems constantly. Dr. Park, keep measuring these effects. Dr. Kim, prepare your quantum equipment. We need to understand what's happening." As they worked, more strange things began to happen. Crew members in different parts of the ship noticed their watches showing different times. Radio signals began to echo, as if they were bouncing through different layers of time. They were making discoveries with every passing hour, but they were also heading deeper into unknown territory. The black hole waited ahead of them, a giant cosmic mystery that was already changing the rules of reality around their ship. The Horizon Seeker moved slowly toward the safe observation point near the black hole. Dr. Kim Do-hyun's hands were steady as he prepared his quantum entanglement devices. These small silver machines would help them study the black hole without getting too close to its dangerous edge. "First probe ready," he announced to Captain Lee, who stood watching from her command station. The probe was special. It carried one half of an entangled particle pair. The other half stayed safe inside the ship. Engineer Choi Hana monitored the ship's systems carefully. The closer they got to the black hole, the harder the engines had to work to keep them at a safe distance. She noticed a small warning light flashing on her panel. "Captain," she said, checking her screens, "the outer shield generator is showing signs of stress. The gravity is stronger than we expected." Captain Lee frowned. The shield generator was crucial. Without it, the black hole's intense radiation could harm them all. "Can we fix it?" Engineer Choi looked at her diagnostic readings. "Yes, but someone needs to go outside to repair the main connection. The gravity waves must have loosened it." The crew grew quiet. Going outside this close to a black hole was extremely dangerous. One wrong move, and the person could be pulled toward the black hole. "I'll go," Engineer Choi said firmly. "I know the shield systems better than anyone." Captain Lee thought carefully before nodding. "Dr. Park, monitor the gravity levels. Dr. Kim, pause your experiments. We focus on this repair first." Engineer Choi put on her spacesuit carefully. Each piece had to be perfect. Dr. Kim helped her check all the safety lines, strong cables that would keep her connected to the ship. "Remember," Captain Lee spoke through the radio, "you have 20 minutes before the gravity shifts again. Get in, fix the connection, get out." Engineer Choi stepped into the airlock. When the door opened, she saw the black hole clearly for the first time. It was like a perfect circle of darkness, pulling all light around it into strange shapes. She moved carefully along the ship's hull, holding the safety lines tight. The shield generator was just ahead. As she worked, she could feel the strange pull of the black hole, trying to change her direction. Suddenly, a strong gravity wave hit the ship. Engineer Choi's safety line pulled tight as she started to drift away from the hull. "Hana." Captain Lee's voice crackled through the radio. "Are you secure?" "Yes," Engineer Choi answered calmly, though her heart was racing. The line held. "I'm almost done with the repair." Inside the ship, Dr. Park watched the gravity readings climb higher. "Captain, another wave is coming. We need to get her inside now." Engineer Choi's fingers moved quickly, finishing the repair. She could feel the gravity changing around her, pulling harder. With one final turn of her wrench, the shield generator hummed back to life. "Done," she called, already pulling herself back toward the airlock. The second gravity wave was starting to hit as she reached the door. Captain Lee and Dr. Kim helped pull her inside. As soon as the airlock was sealed, they could hear the shield generator working properly again, protecting them from the black hole's intense forces. Good work, Captain Lee said, helping Engineer Choi remove her helmet. The shields are back at full strength. Engineer Choi smiled tiredly. Just another day at the office, she said, but her hands were shaking slightly as she took off her spacesuit. Dr. Kim's quantum devices were beeping again. Even during the repair, they had recorded valuable data about how space and time bent around them. They were learning new things about black holes every minute, but they had also learned something else. In space, the line between everyday work and extreme danger was very thin. Dr. Kim Do-hyun stared at his computer screen in the science lab of the Horizon Seeker. The data from his quantum probes showed something he had never expected to see. His hands trembled as he checked the numbers again and again. "Dr. Park," he called out, his voice unusually excited. "Could you look at this data? I need to make sure I'm not seeing things." Dr. Park Sung-min floated across the lab and looked at the screen. His eyes widened. The quantum probes they had sent near the black hole were showing strange patterns that shouldn't be possible. "Captain," Dr. Park called through the ship's communication system. "You need to see this immediately." Captain Lee Jae-yun arrived at the lab quickly. Engineer Choi followed her, still looking tired from her spacewalk the day before. "What did you find?" Captain Lee asked, looking at the two excited scientists. Dr. Kim pointed to his screen. "Look at these readings from our quantum probes. The entangled particles are showing perfect symmetry, but in a way we've never seen before. It's as if..." "As if what?" Engineer Choi asked, leaning closer to see. "As if the black hole is acting like a natural gateway," Dr. Park finished. "The space around it isn't just bending. It's connecting to somewhere else." The crew fell silent. This was bigger than anything they had expected to find. "Are you saying," Captain Lee spoke slowly, "that black holes could be natural doors in space?" "Yes," Dr. Kim said, "but not like a normal door. The quantum patterns suggest that space and time are folded around the black hole in a very special way. It's like, imagine a piece of paper. If you make a hole in it, you break the paper. But if you fold it carefully and make a bridge between 2 points, you create a connection." Engineer Choi looked thoughtful. "That would explain why our communications have been acting so strange. The signals might be catching edges of these folds in space." They sent their findings back to Earth, though they knew it would take many hours for the message to arrive. The gravity around the black hole made communications very difficult. Dr. Kim and Dr. Park worked without stopping, trying to understand more about their discovery. They sent more quantum probes, each one bringing back more amazing data. "The patterns are getting stronger," Dr. Park said, pointing to new readings. "The closer we get to the event horizon, the clearer they become." But as they worked, Engineer Choi noticed something worrying. "The ship's sensors are picking up strange energy readings," she reported. "The space around us is becoming more unstable." Captain Lee looked at her crew. They had made an incredible discovery, but they were also in a dangerous position. The black hole's power was growing stronger around them. "We need to decide," she said to her crew. "Do we stay and gather more data, or do we back away to a safer distance?" Dr. Kim looked at his quantum devices, still collecting valuable information. Engineer Choi studied her engine readings, calculating how much longer they could safely stay. Dr. Park checked his gravity measurements, trying to predict how the space around them would change. They were on the edge of the biggest discovery in human history, but they were also on the edge of one of the most dangerous places in space. Whatever they decided would change not just their mission, but humanity's understanding of the universe forever. The Horizon Seeker shook as another gravity wave hit the ship. Warning lights flashed across every control panel, and the sound of straining metal filled the corridors. The black hole's power was growing stronger with each passing minute. Engineer Choi Hannah's fingers moved quickly over her controls, trying to keep the engine stable. "The gravity waves are getting worse," she reported to Captain Lee. "The ship's frame is under extreme stress." Captain Lee Jae-yun looked at the main screen, where the black hole seemed larger than ever. They had stayed to gather more data after their discovery, but now they were in danger. "Dr. Kim," she called out, "how much more time do you need with the quantum readings?" Dr. Kim Do-hyun checked his instruments. The quantum probes were sending back amazing data about the space-time gateway they had discovered, but the information was becoming harder to receive. "Every minute gives us more valuable data," he said. But another shake ran through the ship, stronger than before. A loud crack came from somewhere in the hull. "Hull breach in Section 4. Engineer Choi shouted. "Emergency shields are holding, but they won't last long." Dr. Park Sung-min looked up from his gravity sensors. "Captain, the space around us is becoming too twisted. If we stay much longer, we might not be able to escape the black hole's pull." Captain Lee knew they had to make a choice, either leave now with what they had learned or risk everything for a complete understanding of their discovery. Engineer Choi suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Wait," she said, her eyes bright with an idea. "What if we modify our shield system? We could use Dr. Kim's quantum entanglement principle to strengthen our shields." Everyone turned to look at her. "Explain," Captain Lee said. "Dr. Kim's quantum probes work in pairs, right? If we connect our shield generators the same way, we could make them strong enough to stay here safely." Engineer Choi pulled up a diagram on her screen. "See, we can link them like this." Dr. Kim moved closer to look at her plan. "The math could work," he said slowly. "But we've never tried anything like this before. One mistake, and we'd be pulled into the black hole," Dr. Park finished. The ship shook again. More warning lights came on. "We need to decide now," Captain Lee said firmly. "Engineer Choi, how long would it take to make these changes?" 20 minutes, Engineer Choi answered. "Maybe less if everyone helps." Captain Lee looked at each member of her crew. They had come farther than any humans ever had. They had discovered something that could change humanity's understanding of the universe. But was it worth risking their lives? "Dr. Park," she asked, "how long before our situation becomes critical?" "At current rates." He checked his instruments. 25 minutes, maybe 30 if we're lucky." The ship groaned as another gravity wave hit them. Captain Lee made her decision. "Engineer Choi, start the modifications. Dr. Kim, help her with the quantum connections. Dr. Park, monitor the gravity waves and give us constant updates. We're going to try this." They all moved quickly to their tasks. Engineer Choi and Dr. Kim began rewiring the shield generators, their hands steady despite the danger. Dr. Park called out readings as the space around them continued to twist and bend. The Horizon Seeker hung in space, balanced on the edge between safety and disaster. The next 30 minutes would determine not just their fate, but also whether their incredible discovery would ever reach Earth. The black hole waited silently, its immense power pulling at them, testing their courage and their science with every passing second. Engineer Choi's fingers moved quickly as she connected the last wires of the modified shield system. Sweat rolled down her face despite the ship's cool air. Dr. Kim watched the quantum readings carefully as each connection was made. Final connection in 3, 2, 1. Engineer Choi touched the last two wires together. The shield generators hummed with a new, deeper sound. "Quantum link is stable," Dr. Kim announced, his eyes fixed on his screens. "The shields are responding exactly like the probe pairs." Captain Lee watched as the shield strength indicators changed from red to yellow, then to green. The constant shaking of the ship began to decrease. "Dr. Park, what do the gravity readings show?" she asked. Dr. Park smiled for the first time in hours. "The new shields are working. They're bending the gravity waves around us instead of trying to block them." Engineer Choi's idea was brilliant. With the ship now stable, they could focus on their research again. Dr. Kim's quantum probes sent back clearer data than ever before. The patterns they saw confirmed their amazing discovery. Black holes were indeed natural gateways in space. Look at this, Dr. Park pointed to his gravity maps. The space around us isn't just bending. It's connecting to other points in the universe. The quantum patterns prove it. Captain Lee contacted Earth, knowing the message would take hours to reach them. Mission Control, this is Horizon Seeker. We have confirmed our discovery. Black holes create natural connections in space-time. We are sending all our data now. Days pass as they gathered more information. The modified shields held strong, protecting them from the black hole's intense gravity. Each day brought new discoveries about how space and time worked near the black hole. Finally, Dr. Yoon's voice came through their radio. Horizon Seeker, this is Mission Control. We have reviewed your data. What you've discovered, it's revolutionary. You've changed our understanding of the universe. It's time to come home. Captain Lee looked at her crew. They were tired but proud. They had faced the unknown and survived. More than that, they had unlocked one of space's greatest mysteries. Prepare for return journey, she ordered. Engineer Choi, start the main engines. Dr. Park, plot our course home. Dr. Kim, secure all data backups. As the Horizon Seeker turned away from the black hole, Engineer Choi noticed something on her screens. Captain, she called out, the quantum shield design. It's not just protecting us. The way it handles gravity. We might be able to use this to make faster spaceships. Dr. Kim nodded excitedly. She's right. The patterns we discovered, they could help us build better engines, maybe even help us use these space-time connections ourselves someday. The journey home was much faster than their journey out. They had learned so much about moving through space affected by gravity. But more importantly, they had shown what humans could do when they worked together and faced their fears. As Earth appeared in their view screens, growing larger each day, Captain Lee gathered her crew one last time. What we discovered will change everything, she said. But the real discovery wasn't just about black holes. It was about human courage, creativity, and teamwork. We did what everyone thought was impossible. The Horizon Seeker cruised toward Earth, carrying its precious cargo of data and discoveries. Behind them, the black hole continued its eternal dance with space and time, but it was no longer just a mystery. Thanks to human ingenuity and bravery, it was now a gateway to understanding the deepest secrets of our universe.